This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Good morning, true seekers and true crime junkies. Welcome back to another episode of Hit the Road Jack, Finding the Zodiac. I'd like to welcome to the show today, Lindsay McBrayer.
Hey. Hi. Yes.
Well, I can hear your wind. I wish I was driving. All right. Well, we are back again with the Jonbenet Ramsey case. Of course, last week we were talking about some of the statements in the actual letter, the ransom note that was left at the crime scene at the Ramsey home. And then we were talking a little bit about later confessions. So up on my presentation at this point, I show that we ended basically on later confessions, which included John Mark Carr, other individuals that had come forward. John Mark Carr is really kind of one of the more infamous, I guess, suspects that had taken credit for something he hadn't done. So we are definitely going to cover him in great detail once we're through with the actual evidence in this case. Genealogy research, again, on the documentary that I watched, the recent one, John Ramsey had indicated that he was hoping that they would do DNA and kind of trace that back through relatives or possibly link to forefathers, who this suspect might be. I'm not sure what the holdup is on that, because I'm pretty sure this documentary was made at least a year ago, if not longer. By the time I had seen it, it had already been produced and on Netflix. So I'm not sure why we don't have some answers to this just yet, unless, of course, this is not an avenue they want to take, because it means it will unravel all of these different crimes. So I do have a question about that. And of course, I had, are we working here? Let's get on it. Yeah, there we go. We do have questions or comments from YouTubers that had asked about that. So we'll go ahead and cover those comments that we had this last week. So I had somebody says it's at TN Accountability 7455. Not sure who this is, but it says, here's your answer. She never passed or went missing. She was sold to Hollywood. So next time you see Katy Perry, you'll know to say hello to Jonbenet Ramsey. Did I lose you, Lindsay? Are you still there? I show 3 people in studio. I don't know if she muted herself. Okay. Anyways, I think that I have heard many times people try to make the conclusion or state that Katy Perry is in fact Jonbenet Ramsey. I have not done a lot of research into that, nor have I, taken a look. I'm sure that the blue eyes is something that they're cross connecting, but I don't. I went on to, state that I had read these theories, and I asked if they were also someone that believes 5G is killing us. And of course, that was more of a sarcastic joke. And I had mentioned that those would be some really convincing autopsy photos. How would you get Jonbenet Ramsey to pose for something like that, or to make up some type of doppelganger for her in order to pose for those particular photos? I can't see that being a realistic thing. But I know that from the individuals who were stating that Jonbenet was actually Katy Perry sold to Hollywood, they also believe that 5G is killing us and that there's a meteor that's going to take out the earth. There's this huge, like, real conspiracy theories that are going on. So after I asked if they believed that, they actually came back and said, at Finding the Zodiac, absolutely. It is killing us slowly. CGI and augmentation has been around for nearly a century. We are just so gullible due to believing the lies of our alleged history. We do not live in the age of technology. Not quite sure what they meant by that, but yes, I did get an affirmative. So are you back with me, Lindsay?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I was gonna say was, those are the kind of ones that, they're on the right path, but I mean, it's a possibility, but it's a very low possibility. And those are the ones that you can't speak out loud, those theories, because that's what gets the ones that really are trying to find the truth off the truth and back into La La Land.
Exactly.
So
I think, when I visualize Jonbenet's little tiny face and Katy Perry, some parts of the eyes may be, connecting
well, and
for
then
me.
Patsy, she really does look a lot like Patsy, Katy Perry does.
What?
But, yeah.
You think so? I don't.
I've seen this theory before, and and I obviously had to go down that hole and see what they were saying. And I mean, there are a lot of similarities, but not enough to say, yeah, that's her. No.
Gotcha. All right. I'm glad somebody else weighed in on that, because I've only listened to people say it. I haven't really taken it seriously, and I certainly didn't jump down that rabbit hole, because again, we have the autopsy photos. How did these come about if Jonbenet really wasn't dead? Oh my goodness. All right. On to the next YouTuber. Or actually, it's the same YouTuber says, you easily just believe the story given. Yikes. Hey, I got an idea. Let's figure out what path Santa took last night and why rabbits poop colorful eggs one day a year, since that's what you told your kids. Wait, even you deceive your own children. How about we figure out the mystery of why you were so proud to be a liar and deceive your kids? I was like, wow, what the heck is going on right now? You just literally called me a liar. I said, just because you lied to your kids doesn't mean I did. So maybe you need to discuss that with someone, but it isn't me. Folklore has been handed down for years. And when my children became old enough to ask the questions about it, I didn't lie about it. I told them the truth. I know that when you're using the folklore, you're telling these stories in order to, make these whimsical stories and thoughts and ideas in kids' heads. Once they start asking the questions about it is when you begin to be honest about it. You don't continue to deceive them and tell them that they're wrong, because that is, in a sense, you are deceiving and lying to your children. But Santa Claus worked for as long as it worked. And the second that they knew, or the second that they questioned it, I told them the truth. Ezra Kubis comments and says, didn't Dennis say that Jack was home in California during Christmas 1996? I think I remember reading it. And yes, that is correct. Dennis did believe that. Dennis also didn't remember that Jack had taken off for nearly a month, at least up to either December 16th or Christmas Day. I'm not exactly sure. And then he says, Mr. Ramsey was saying that they likely will be doing DNA analysis to where an expert will link the DNA found to a specific family tree and can pinpoint who the killer was born to, grandparents, great-grandparents, grandparents, parents, and can eliminate siblings. That will be interesting, because again, that's, I think, what John Ramsey is looking for, even though he hasn't gotten it. Now, I did put up here another podcaster, which I watched this episode that you sent me, Lindsay, the Nor Jasmine.
Yeah, I think he's from another country, but he does really good work. And
It's a she. Nor is a she.
No, that must not be the one.
You sent it to me. You said I needed to watch it, and it was MK Ultra. Ooh, I spelt that wrong. MK Ultra, or she spelt that wrong. Oh, no, she didn't. It's the pun. MK Cultra.
Oh, okay. Oh, that one. Yes. Oh, that one. Yeah. I just found her, and she is legit. She does really good research.
Yes, and I was very, very much impressed by what I was watching. It says her episode MK Ultra, we need to talk about the CIA and cults. Now, I think I've got the URL up here for everybody. If they want to go and watch this, they can obviously look up Noor. It's Noor Jasmine on YouTube, and check her out. She succinctly put together everything from the 1940s. I want to say up and through Jonestown, Manson. I want to say maybe early 70s. So she does this very succinct thing where she shows the connectivity between all of the players and everything that we've talked about and we've come across, which I have reached out to her and asked if I can play her episode for our viewers, because I think that she, again, wraps up in probably 40, 50 minutes what I go over for 60, 70 years. And sometimes we forget,
Yes.
10, 20 years down my presentation, we forget the connectivity from back there. But once you listen to her, it was absolutely awe-inspiring. I was like, wow, like you said, she does her homework.
Yeah.
That is a must-see for everybody, for sure. And I also then went back to the Swearingham solve on the Melvin Belli letter that talked about iCult, trigger, and needing work. So when you listen to Noor talk about this, you're going to hear her talk about cults, triggers. So basically the bottom line is she believes that MK Ultra is what made these cults.
Yeah.
The Manson family.
And I believe that too.
It makes absolute sense. If this is what they were testing, and what she found in documents that discuss MK Ultra and what they were capable of doing with this is much more than the government would like us to believe. I mean, they were completely successful on so many levels of brainwashing, of getting somebody to do something they wouldn't ordinarily do, even against their morals and their virtues and their ethics, I mean, it's
even
a very
creating other personalities within that person.
100%. Like, I was completely blown away that they kept saying it was successful. Actually, Sidney Gottlieb, it was successful over and over again. It just blew me away.
Yeah.
All right. So that puts us back to, I do have an update actually in the Peter Wilson case, the wrongful conviction. I received a new document that I just rendered an opinion on from his case. And this blew me away, but it is the actual confession from William Coleman stating that he had sex the night that Hak Ju Kim was killed. And this actually went missing. It was removed from the file. So we can actually see down here where it says removed from the file, 31st of March. This is the police officer, Michael Yore's handwriting, where he removed this from the police file because it literally exculpates Peter Wilson, because he was in San Francisco in the hospital having his hand fixed when Coleman actually had sex with Hak Ju Kim. Now, I'm pretty sure that in this confession, it's only half true. He probably raped her and killed her, which is why she ended up dead. But he's admitting to having consensual sex with her. And I think that was probably to explain away they are going to find his semen and his fluids on her. Absolutely, just my jaw hit the floor when I saw this, you guys. This is absolutely insane. This man needs to be free, and I need to find an attorney who can help him with his writ of habeas corpus.
Yeah.
All right, from my message board.
And there's a lot of them that are, I'm not defending criminals, but as my husband always tries to accuse me of defending criminals, but he doesn't know what we know, if that makes sense.
Right.
And it's harder just to explain it just in 5 seconds to someone. So
yeah.
I mean, but like there literally is so many in prison, I believe, that where probably MK Ultra in some type of way into confessing to something that they didn't do.
Well, and you have to imagine that program took place, like Noor said, in prisons, in mental hospitals, in universities, San Francisco, New York. There was a socialite aspect of it too, where socialites were using it on their male counterparts. So it runs deep.
There's a portion of it as well that I can verify from multiple sources that they still use in investigative interrogation purposes.
Oh, of course. If we think that this has ended simply because, MK Ultra was shut down and Helms had all the, files destroyed, they just pick it up, call it another thing, and continue on. I mean, I think it started as Paperclip, then Artichoke, then Bluebird, and then MK Ultra turned into Midnight Climax. Like it just keeps evolving into a new program and, hidden a little bit better the next time. It's disgusting. Anyways, I do have some information that I pulled from my message board way back in 2012 when I was putting this presentation together. And it was information that Terry Batcher had actually pulled out or extracted from what he could in the files because he was well read on the Jonbenet Ramsey case. So I thought it would be prudent to kind of lay out what he believed to be the evidence before we get into all of the pictures. So it says one must read and double check things in the JBR case to be properly informed. There's a lot of info on the net, but some of it is just plain wrong and doesn't compare with the known evidence. This list is a work in progress by Terry Batcher. He says, odd evidence in the Ramsey case. Pineapple found in the victim's GI tract, bowl of fresh cut pineapple with large spoon discovered later on. Ramsey's had no reason to deny that they fed that to her. If it were true, again, that's not something I would see that they would even think to themselves they'd have to have denied doing. So why did they? We didn't give that to her. Why is that there on the counter then? Who fed it to her? It was found in her system. There was a water glass with a tea bag in it and a Kleenex box found next to the bowl of pineapple. Ramsey said they knew nothing about it and again had no reason to lie about that. I guess when I say some of these things, you're probably chomping at the bit to say that this is where your theory of somebody was sexually abusing her, that it had gone wrong. So that person may have been in their house and the Ramseys may have been very well aware of it. Right, Lindsay? Okay. Yeah. So,
well, they would have known what she liked.
Well, and then they would have had a reason, I suppose, then to lie about the knowledge of those items because they very well knew who was eating or feeding. Yeah. He says the black duct tape found on the victim was never sourced. There was no roll of it found in the house. And the duct tape had been recently manufactured, so it was a newer duct tape. Good morning, Nolan. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, everybody. Technical difficulties, I've overcome them finally.
I had some this morning too, so no harm, no foul. He went back and edited to add, in fact, it was a black gaffer's tape, which is a specialized tape that is more narrow than 2-inch duct tape. I also suspect that it was meant to serve as a mimic of the Black Dahlia's victim's wounds. I'm not sure what he means by that because I don't know where this tape was found on her. I don't know if it was on her face, on her hands. I don't know.
I think the size of it makes it easier to use to bind someone. The duct tape is thicker and it's not really for that purpose.
Right. Especially small little hands.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, when he's saying mimic her wounds, Black Dahlia was cut from cheek to cheek. So is he indicating that this tape was on her mouth? She was cut in the abdomen. She was cut in the breast. She was bisected. All of these.
I don't understand.
Yeah. I didn't either. He says the tip of the paintbrush used to break victim's hymen and part of the garret was never found, which, yes, there was 1/3 of the brush that was never found. Sharpie used to write the ransom note was of a much older manufacture date than other markers found in the home. Several pages on the tablet used to construct the ransom note and practice note were never found. Beaver hairs were found on the victim. Brown cotton glove fibers were found on the victim. Brown paper bag type fibers found on victim's bed, perhaps from a cardboard tube used to carry the ransom note. I think these are just theories on his part, some of it. Evidence victim was strangled twice. Second event was meant to kill her, and the blow to the head came when the victim was already dead. So that really kind of excludes Burke from having been the one who hit her out of rage because she was playing with his toy. All these people have these theories about Burke being the culprit here, but if the damage to her skull didn't occur until after she was strangled, we know it wasn't Burke. Again, he couldn't have created the garret. And it would have been more likely if she had suffered the head injury first, then was strangled, that it could have been a possibility that the strangulation was a cover up for the head injury. But that's evidently not what the autopsy is saying.
Yeah. He's such a strange kid, though. He's kind of a very curious figure.
Well, I have an explanation for that.
Go ahead.
Because I think that he is weird like that because at the same time Jonbenet was, before Jonbenet, I think that he was being sexually abused. Not necessarily by the parents, but by others and they knew about it. And so once Bert got older and Jonbenet got to the age where they like whatever, then they started doing it to her, and he was abandoned at that point. And he was no longer being used, no longer being abused, but he had already went through all that trauma. So this would actually also give you that result of him feeling abandoned all the time, like he has said, and that people have wrote about him, how he was kind of like outcasted by when Jonbenet was the main figure in the family, and everybody was like adoring over her, but then he was over here sitting by himself, like just to use as an analogy. So I think that would make him feel that way, make him weird and act these different ways, because the trauma that he had experienced, not only before Jonbenet or during Jonbenet, when she up until she was 6, but I think that he was slowly being cut off, being abused, and no longer getting that attention, even though, as we know, even though it's negative attention, but with a child, they don't understand at that age that if they're not getting attention at all, any attention is going to satisfy their needs as a child.
Right, but I would think that his abandonment would also come in lieu of the fact that the parents were under such strict such scrutiny, dealing with this legally, all of the news reports, all the interviews, he probably, and coming from that type of a lifestyle, I don't know if they had a nanny, it sounded to me like Patsy was pretty much home, right?
They had a housekeeper.
A housekeeper is different than a nanny. So I imagine that with, some people that, they're so rich and they're so gone all the time that they literally have somebody else playing parent. It didn't appear that way to me based on, everything that we've seen throughout, the news and so forth. So his abandonment issues could be legitimately from the fact that his sister died and his parents went through what they went through. And of course, then mom dies,
Yeah.
I want to say, well, if he was,
I think it's a combination for sure.
Yeah, there's a whole lot going on there.
I think there was some jealousy, though, too.
There is. I mean, sibling rivalry is a real thing, right? I mean,
I had a small brother, and when I would go when I was old enough to go spend the night with my friends on the weekend, or go do something with friends as a girl, I feel like girls are more social in a way rather than boys at that age. And him being almost 4 years younger than me, I was able to do things that he wasn't able to go off and do. And so he would definitely get jealous of, and he would tell my mom, it's not fair that she is going off and doing things every weekend and I don't get to do anything. I'm just sitting here, like he would complain. And then it got to a point where my mom had to be like, all right, you're not going anywhere this weekend because that's not fair to your brother, Wow. And that would, obviously that would make me mad, but I get it now looking back at it. So,
well, and Jonbenet received a lot of attention, obviously, as a beauty star, a beauty pageant, Little Miss beauty queen. So she's receiving, all types of attention and gifts and awards. And I really don't know what Burke was up to, but I would assume they would have had him in some type of sport or something that he could be doing, that they didn't just cater to Jonbenet because she was beautiful, right?
Yeah.
So he goes on to say the stun gun marks on victim's neck and leg, former detective Steve Thomas called the stun gun evidence make-believe. Yet many experts confirm that nothing else explains the duplicate marks and spacing, and it is an exact fit to the air taser brand. Edited to add, this evidence may tie into evidence that a second assailant may have been involved in this vicious murder. A copy of Mindhunter by John Douglas was found in Ramsey's home. Ramsey said they knew nothing about it and again had no reason to lie about it. So, okay, that's odd. A copy of a book in Danish was found in the home, but Ramsey said they knew nothing about it and had no reason to lie. He mentions that, is JT sending a message with this? I tend to think so, but again, I don't know what message he means by, a book of Danish. Victim was wrapped in a blanket, but her legs and feet weren't covered. Victim's arms were both poised. I think he meant to say posed, upwards, same as E. Short. And the skeleton card and the spooky picture of Jack. Brown paper bag with rope in it found in the guest bedroom. Same room, overlooked the garage and rear entrance to garage. Edited to add, I've recently discovered the significance of the brown paper bag mentioned on the ransom note, along with the cowgirl photo shoot that has rope at the feet of the victim, and the fact that a new pair of cowboy boots along with a small suitcase with men's clothes in it was found at their summer home. This is clear evidence of premeditation and stalking. Photo of the bed in the guest room shows that the dust ruffle was out of place in an otherwise tidy room, perhaps caused by a search for the victim. The public domain doesn't have details on this. There's a red outline type heart-shaped figure drawn on the lifelines of the victim's hand. JT had a small red heart tattoo on his arm. I know this one was big for Terry. He used to, mention that Jack had the red heart tattoo, and this red heart on Jonbenet's hand was leading him to believe that Jack committed this crime. But again, I think that Jack was a piece of this crime, not the whole crime. Barbie doll outfit was found near victim, may have simply stuck to the blanket that she was wrapped in. Boulder PD claimed voices heard at the end of the 911 tape, but the noise level was far too high for this to be a valid claim. Fleet White was said to have called 911 on the 23rd. Police arrived. His version of this event is not in the public domain. So why would Fleet White call the police on the 23rd? That's 2 days before the murder. I'm not sure where he was going with that. Are you aware of any of that, Lindsay?
I think that he knew of something. I don't know what he knew, but he definitely knew more than he was saying, because as you may know, he had pretty much like disassociated himself with John and all them after a while, and they no longer communicated with each other.
Huh.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean after the murder?
Yeah.
He disassociated himself. Gotcha. He says upon arrival on the morning of the crime, Fleet White looked in the cellar room, but claimed it was too dark in there. He had been in the same windowless room on previous occasions. Fleet White and his wife were the only friends of the Ramseys to point suspicion at the Ramseys, and did so repeatedly. I also found that odd. I mean, how does your friend point you out? I mean, I don't know.
He's the one that went down in the basement with John to find Jonbenet.
Ultimately finding it, yes. But he claimed he had been there and looked in and it was too dark, which obviously was not true. No. Edited to add, the stuffed toy jackrabbit found at the victim's grave is the killer's calling card. The rope evidence is strongly linked to the 1978 death scene of Chris Bush, as he relates to the OCC cases. The Screaming Boy drawing found taped to his wall has several Zodiac killer markings on it. On the desk was a VW Rabbit brochure. In his otherwise tidy closet was a pile of rope.
Yes, do you remember back when we were talking about Bush? That murder, that they found that rope, and remember me telling you about that rope? Because I found that to be looking like the same rope too.
Right. I wonder if that, and we've got the Buy Rope by Zodiac, so it does play into it. Buy Rope was an unfulfilled Zodiac killer threat. OCCK victim Joe Robinson's death was exactly 20 years to the day earlier to the murder of Jonbenet. And poetic anagram of their ages, date of birth, and date of deaths is uncanny.
Well, and we know that I think that the Zodiac used a lot of gematria and in numerology. So
say that again.
can link things easily and be able to kind of connect things, a lot of different things, like in general with numerology, and he knew that. And they use symbolism in their cults and in their even in the government. So, and he knew that.
Yeah, well, and we know that, decoding and these anniversary dates and these, the timings of the killings all, either led back to some type of, that's why they, look at this like it's a zodiac and constellations and based on where the sun is or what have you. It's just another one of those theories that they've thrown out there to confuse us, kind of like the cult issues. They want to talk about the cults, but I think Noor was probably the first person I seen who cohesively connected everything from Jonestown and Manson to all of this, these other entities that we've talked about that I feel are part of what the Zodiac is really all about.
Yeah.
Some additional evidence that, and some of this might be repetitive, but some of it is not. So a summary of the basic autopsy facts regarding Jonbenet's torture and murder by Terry Batcher. She suffered 2 strangulation events via a noose made from flat white cord, similar to early military parachute type of cord, and a broken portion. Your background noise is really loud right now, girl. Okay, cool. Which, military parachute type of cord and a broken portion of a paintbrush handle, which had a rather sophisticated wrapping of the cord around the handle, which acted as a knot. She left marks from her fingernails on her neck as she clawed at the noose, which meant that while she was being strangled, she was still currently alive at that point in time. Yes, she probably let out a scream that funneled out of the front of the house. It wasn't realized until her autopsy that she had been hit very hard on the back of the head, so hard and probably with a big, long cop shop type of mag light that it drove a 2 by 3 centimeter portion of bone inward and cracked her skull all the way around and over the top of her eye socket.
God.
That is it, right? Yeah. That's absolutely gnarly. So, she says she had less than a teaspoon of blood in her cranium, which is only part of the evidence that demonstrates that the primary cause of death was via the noose, aka the garrote. This list of facts and the stun gun marks found on her face and leg, which is a fact which was established by the late Detective Lou Smith, proves that she was tortured while alive and her remains further destroyed and defiled after she was dead. Wow. Shards of the paintbrush handle were found in her vagina, along with other crime scene evidence. The portion of the handle used on her vagina went missing. All of the above facts, coupled with the murder note evidence, makes it clear that her murder was no accident, nor did it stem from an accident. So, that information, once again, I think exculpates Burke from being the suspect. Hands down. That had to be done by an adult.
Yeah, I think that does, but I don't believe a lot of the things that Lou Smith believed. As far as the stun gun, I think that that was maybe possibly used to cover up after the fact. It wasn't used to control her.
I would think that the bruising that came from it, if it was done after the fact, wouldn't have happened, right? Just like he said that the teaspoon of, what did he say there was? Yeah, a teaspoon of blood was found in her cranium from that actual, so that meant the blood was not pumping at that point in time. I think that you would have had that same issue if you had stun gunned her after the fact versus before she died.
I'm not saying after she died. I'm saying after she was they were starting to molest her.
That they used the stun gun to control her.
Like kind of not control her, but like you know how these people are. They're sick. Just to like mess with her to get her to make an effect that would
excite them.
Yes.
Yeah. Even thinking about that. Well, that also brings me to one of your emails that I received from you back on January 4th. And it says, and to add to the previous email, JonBenet's grandfather, John Ramsey's father, named James Dudley J. Ramsey, was the one who helped fund, build, and construct the airstrip runway for private planes to land on North Fox Island, which is the pedophile island that was shut down. You said, how freaking insane. If this shit isn't a satanic power kill group network of people working together with each other under the CIA and with the help of MK Ultra program as well to create these serial killers along the way, adding to their kill groups. The more you dig, the deeper the hole gets, and I swear it never ends, ever. So yeah, let's see. I think
that sums it all up.
Yeah.
Well, when you don't go for sleep for like several years, only 2 hours a day, and you're so deep in research and you literally see it all in real time, it's like, wow, how can anyone not see this? But I mean, I get why, because of so many years of them doing it. But it's like, I mean, that's a wrap up.
At the beginning of this, Nolan, I discussed a podcast that Lindsay had sent over to me, and her name is Noor Jasmine. First name is Noor. She did about a 40-50 minute podcast where she literally shows all the connectivity of everything that we talk about very succinctly with valid research and paperwork from the MK Ultra program that shows how the possibility of Jonestown and Manson and all of these being CIA created cults through the MK Ultra program. It was absolutely phenomenal. I'm going to see if
Manson and Jim Jones both started out in San Francisco.
Right.
And we know MK Ultra was operated in San Francisco.
And yeah, and at a particular healthcare facility that Manson was told by his parole officer to go visit. And that's where
Haight-Ashbury Free Clinic.
Well, you know what was interesting is that she kept calling the doctor that was running this Mr. Jolly, which I thought Jolly West. And
he's into hypnosis, mind control, the whole bit.
Right? Like, but he was affiliated with that particular healthcare facility. And we know that MK Ultra was employed at mental health clinics and hospitals, prisons.
He had an office at the clinic.
Yeah. Yeah, he was definitely connected. So she really kind of steers away from saying it is what it is, but she just throws out the facts so that you can form your own opinion. And really, through her research, she's come to the same conclusion that I have just going through these letters and these communications from these serial killings, which is absolutely insane to me.
Yeah.
All right, so now we have some pictures. Once again, I think that they're always cramming in your face the truth, but they do it in such a subtle way that we accept little bits of it and sometimes don't even recognize it. So I was given a True Crime Unsolved Mysteries magazine for my birthday one year because the individual knew that I studied and researched on the Zodiac Killer. And so I found it interesting to see and note that we had JonBenet Ramsey right next to the Zodiac Killer's picture. We also have Bob Crane, who I have shown and supported, and I think even Harriet has stated that this murder was part of, his murder was also something that was part of this group. So again, we have all these people being put on this True Crime Unsolved Mysteries magazine that's being sold. I want to say this thing was like, how much was this? $15.99 Canadian and $13.99 US. So $14 a pop. Who knows how many they sold, but I'm sure it flew off the shelves. Anyways, right? I probably wouldn't have, because that meant that I was, supporting them. But it was nice of my friend to have gotten it for me. Here we have some pictures, and we're going to see some of the evidence and pictures of JonBenet Ramsey as we go through this. And I did pull it. A lot of this was pulled from the docuseries that I watched. So let's see here. This says Boulder City spokesperson Leslie Aholm. Later that day, John Ramsey, a former Navy officer, piloted about a dozen relatives on his private jet to Georgia, where the family had lived before moving to Colorado in 1991. So now we have support that John is also a pilot, which kind of tracks with Lindsay telling us that his dad built runways. That kind of like led me though to the point where I know that the maid stated that she had never seen this parachute cord that was used in the garrote and strangulation of JonBenet Ramsey, but it wouldn't be out of character for parachute cord to be around, especially if John was a pilot. I would assume that he had parachutes, right?
Yep.
Now, maybe not in the house, but evidently it was.
They used to go on a lot of trips too, on boats and stuff.
Right, but I was just addressing that the parachute cord that Terry Batcher had indicated was not from the home. It could have been from the plane, could have been something that the Ramseys had in possession or downstairs in the basement for whatever reason that the maid was just unaware of. I don't know. I'm just stating, if he was a pilot, there's chances there are parachutes involved.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And then we got the Star magazine, which I thought is interesting. So I saw something posted not too long ago that discussed, the fake news that we used to get from things like the Inquirer or Star magazine. And we know that the Zodiac wrote to the Star magazine at one point. So yes, there is some truth, I think, in these, while there is also these outlandish statements making us or causing us to question whether or not we can believe what we're reading. And sometimes I feel like they had the first AI, right? I mean, didn't they create photos that weren't real and then post them as if...
yeah. They have this technology decades probably before we release it to us.
Right. Yeah. So people can understand now that this is where AI began, right? With these tabloids.
Just a little aside. Recently, I watched the movie Gypsy about Gypsy Rose Lee. It's a famous stripper back in the day. But they started out as a vaudeville company, and Gypsy Rose Lee wasn't even the star. The little sister was the star of the vaudeville act, and she looked just like JonBenet Ramsey. Blonde,
and how old is that?
Curly hair, cute little face. And the movie's called Gypsy, with Natalie Wood.
Okay, but how old is the movie?
Seriously, too. Oh, it's from the 60s.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yes, that little girl. Yes,
yeah.
that is another rabbit hole, 100% about that little girl. Yes.
So she was in the movie and then ended up dead.
Well, then she develops over the years, but I'm just saying, JonBenet Ramsey looks just like that character in the movie when she was younger. She gets older, and they both, like Natalie Wood is played by she plays a boy in one of the acts because the character that was Natalie Wood's same character was younger, but then she gets older into her teens, then Natalie Wood takes over the role. So this girl, it was like several different people, but the original, when they first started the movie and when the act was shown, it was this little girl was the star and doing things just like JonBenet Ramsey did. It was like her look almost seems like it was patterned after that little girl.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Somebody had commented, and I know that you missed this at the beginning, but they commented that JonBenet Ramsey wasn't dead. She was sold to Hollywood, and she's now Katy Perry.
Oh, right.
I asked them if they believed in 5G as well, and they retorted back, yes, they do. It's killing us. I went, I nailed that one. I nailed that. I do believe that there are people, don't get me wrong, I believe there are people who have sensitivity to electrical apparatuses and technology and things like that. Like that's very proven that some people's bodies can't stand, the megahertz or the radio waves or whatever it is that's, happening with microwaves and technology. But to the extent that it's killing all of us, I think that would really be a detriment to the cell phone companies to kill off all of their customers.
But it wouldn't be the first time. Look at the tobacco companies.
Well, but that's I think that's slightly different because you're not going to kill an entire population, whereas 5G is everywhere. Yeah. You literally would kill an entire population. Like that's And again, with tobacco, obviously, it's whether or not your body's susceptible, obviously, to cancerous type things. Some people smoke all their lives and never have cancer. Look at George Burns.
And I know why that is.
What? Why is that?
Because because just like you said, not only that, but most people are not going to get almost, I would say 4 out of 5 people are not going to get cancer from cigarettes, because your body can, the reason why we have these people that say that they're addicted, well, they can be in a way that your body is not producing enough tobacco, because not many people know this, but our bodies actually produce a hormone of tobacco naturally. So just to say, if you're vitamin deficient of like vitamin D or something, you're going to go take vitamin D vitamins. Well, the same thing with tobacco, but you don't see these doctors like saying that the tobacco is a problem because your body doesn't make enough tobacco for this particular mechanism to fight off this or that, because they don't think that it matters, obviously, and it would defeat the purpose of the whole cigarette tobacco industry. So it makes sense. Like I didn't know that either until when I figured that out. I was like, well, that would make sense why people are addicted in quotations, because maybe that particular person's body is not producing an adequate amount of tobacco
and they
hormone.
crave it.
Yes. So that's why I'm saying, if your body is creating that, that's not what's giving them cancer. It's what else they put in them, it or add to it.
I was going to say, and everybody's individual, and no two people react the same to anything. What might cause cancer in one person will not cause cancer in another person. So back to Jonbenet real quick. We have at the top of the Star magazine, Jonbenet dad linked to kiddie porn scandal. Truth or fiction, right? We're getting it from a tabloid we're not supposed to believe because it's just fantastical. But we have these claims that are being made to being linked to a kiddie porn scandal. I did pull out some handwriting from the images. I believe that this one was actually Patsy Ramsey's handwriting. What I'm concerned about is I'm fairly sure that they put in front of her and asked her to write this way. And some people, when you do that, so when I ask a client or a suspect to give me samples of handwriting, I do not give them the image or the note that is involved. I break these words down in different ways. I make different sentences using the same words so that they're not so consciously thinking of the actual note itself that they're being accused of writing, that they're now writing more naturally in comparison to this looks almost as if it was sat right in front of her and she just attempted to mimic it. I mean, she doesn't spell business with 2 S's in the middle. So how did she come up with that unless she was staring at the actual ransom note? It doesn't make any sense. I wouldn't ask somebody to spell the word wrong if that's not how they spell the word, right? I mean, spell it the way you normally spell it, because that is a ruse up there. Another one, it looked to me as though this was being purported as actual evidence. I'm not sure if it is. I do find several differences between this writing and the writing that we have been shown on the internet, which tells me that either the writing we're seeing on the internet has been altered, or this is not truly the note that is being purported as evidence and in the property of the police department. Well, we're down.
Which that wouldn't surprise me either.
No, and I've said on many occasions that it looks as though they've altered and changed the looks of the Zodiac handwriting for the purpose of the internet. And we know that the FOIA files with the FBI, it is intentionally distorted. So if anybody even goes into those files, you're not pulling an actual legitimate note. It's been altered in such a way that it's been squished down and oddly shaped, not even something that a scan would have done. So this wasn't something that happened through the scanning process. They had to manipulate it after they scanned it in to make it look like that.
Or scanned it 15 times. It scanned the scan page that they printed, scanned it several times.
But it's not going to cause the distortion and the alterations that you see.
Yeah,
but I've shown the images of the FOIA files next to internet letters, and you can see the distinct differences in them. And the distortion had to be manipulated on purpose after the scan was done. Period.
Yeah.
No amount of scanning is going to cause that. So that's pretty much. I think we're down to our last minute here. I want to thank everybody again for being here. Go check out Noor Jasmine. Like I said, N as in Nancy, OOR Jasmine, and see what she has to say in her 50 minute little stint there. It is absolutely shocking and interesting to see it aligns so well with what we're talking about. Thank you guys for being here. Yeah. So everybody have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next Friday.
Yep. And then I can tell you about, I'll tell y'all next time about the book I read on one of the detectives that wrote it.
Okay.
About the case.
Yeah, because we're still going through this. We'll hit some more pictures and some more evidence, and then we'll talk about John Mark Carr. So we'll be in it for a minute. In it to win it, you guys. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.